The legal recognition of sign languages differs widely. In some countries, the national sign language is an official state language, whereas in others it has a protected status in certain areas such as education. Extending legal recognition is one of the major concerns of the international deaf community. However, symbolic recognition is no guarantee for an effective improvement of the life of sign language users, and it has been argued that sign languages should be recognized and supported not merely as an accommodation for the disabled, but as the communication medium of language communities. Sign language status by state. Australia. Auslan was recognised by the Australian government as a community language other than English and the preferred language of the deaf community in policy statements in 1987 and 1991. This recognition does not ensure any provision of services in Auslan, but use of Auslan in deaf education and provision of Auslan English interpreters is becoming more common. Austria. Austrian Sign Language was recognized by the Austrian Parliament in 2005. On 1 September 2005, the Austrian constitution was amended to include a new article, Section 8 Die Österreichische Gebärdensprache ist als eigenständige Sprache anerkannt. Das nachher Bestimmen die Gesetze. For further information, please contact the Austrian Deaf Association. http://www.oeglb. At further reading Krausnucker Verena Österreichs erste Minderheitensprache in SDIMM even und Verminderheiten Number 56 Krausnucker Verena Tabstum bis Gebärdensprachig. Die Österreichische Gebärdensprachgemeinschaft aus soziolinguistischer Perspektive. Verlag Drava. Belgium French Community. The Parliament of French-speaking Belgium recognized LSFB in a decree of October 2003. This recognition entails a cultural recognition and the foundation of a commission that will advise the government of the French community in all matters related to LSFB. In Decret relatif à la reconnaissance de la langue des signes, from three possible legal interpretations of the term recognition, the following one was retained. It concerns a symbolic recognition that goes hand in hand with a general measure, permitting every minister to take action in fields relative to his authority. Flemish Community. Flemish Sign Language was recognized on 26 April 2006 by the Flemish Parliament. This recognition entails a cultural recognition, the foundation of a commission that will advise the Flemish government in all matters related to VGT and the structural funding of research and development of VGT. This recognition was accelerated by the most successful petition ever with the Flemish Parliament and the presence of a deaf Member of Parliament, Helga Stevens, and her interpreters in the Flemish Parliament. Brazil. The Brazilian Sign Language was legally recognized in 2002. The law was regulated in 2005. The language must be taught as a part of the education and speech and language pathology curricula. Libras teachers, instructors and translators are recognized professionals. Schools and health services must provide access to deaf people. Canada. Section 14 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms specifies that an accused person who does not understand the language in which his or her trial is carried out, or is deaf, is entitled to an interpreter. In several of Canada's provinces, ASL is an officially recognized minority language with legally embedded rights. Ontario recognized ASL and LSQ as a language in which the deaf can be taught when it altered its Education Act in 1993. Ontario formally recognized ASL in 2007, attributing to it the rights of fellow minority languages. Question period in the House of Commons of Canada is interpreted in both Quebec Sign Language and American Sign Language. Chilean Sign Language. Chile enacted in Law No. 20,422 in 2010 in order to ensure the right to equality of opportunity for disabled people, negating any form of discrimination against them. Czech Republic. Czech Sign Language gained legal recognition as a human language with the passage of the Sign Language Law 155/1998 SB. See the legislation here. Denmark. As of May 13, 2014, Danish Sign Language gained legal recognition. The Danish Parliament established the Danish Sign Language Council to devise principles and guidelines for the monitoring of the Danish Sign Language and offer advice and information on the Danish Sign Language. European Union. The European Parliament unanimously approved a resolution about deaf sign languages on June 17, 1988. The resolution asks all member countries for recognition of the national sign languages as official languages of the deaf. The EP issued another resolution in 1998 with more or less the same content as in 1988. See Resolution on Sign Languages for the Deaf. Official Journal C-187, the 18th of July 1988, P0236. Finland. Finnish Sign Language was recognized in the Constitution in August 1995. Iceland. Icelandic Sign Language was recognized by law in education in 2004. On May 27, 2011, the Icelandic Parliament unanimously approved a bill which recognizes Icelandic Sign Language as an official minority language with constitutional rights and as the first language of the deaf people of Iceland. India. There is no official recognition of Indian Sign Language. Ireland. There is no official recognition of Irish Sign Language yet. However, there have been calls to make Irish Sign Language the third official language in Ireland after Irish and English, which would require an amendment to the constitution, which can only happen via a referendum. Italy. There is no official recognition of Italian Sign Language yet. Those who oppose this recognition say this language is grammarless, although, by definition, a language cannot be, in fact, grammarless. Several research on the matter have already shown that Italian Sign Language is a proper language. Kenya. The Constitution of Kenya recognizes Kenya Sign Language and states that the state shall promote the development and use of Kenyan Sign Language. Sign language is recognized further in Article 120, which states that the official languages of Parliament are Kiswahili, English and Kenyan Sign Language, and the business of Parliament may be conducted in English, Kiswahili and Kenyan Sign Language. Macedonia. The Macedonian Sign Language is officially recognized as natural way of communication between the people. The language is regulated by law, which allows students and every individual in Macedonia to study the language. Also, the law secures the right of interpreter for the students with special needs, and every other deaf person can request an interpreter as well. Currently, there are more than 6.000 Macedonian citizens with deafness. Malta. The Maltese Sign Language was officially recognized by Parliament in March of 2016. Mexico. The Mexican Sign Language was officially declared a national language in 2003, and it started being used in public deaf education thereafter. Before 2003, deaf education in the country was focused on oralism, with few schools conducting classes in LSM. Nepal. Although Nepalese Sign Language has not yet been officially recognized as the mother tongue of Nepal's deaf population, Legislation is underway which will bring Nepali law in line with the provisions of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. These laws will recognize the rights of the deaf to use Nepali Sign Language, have it used in education, in social life, in the legal sphere, etc. And this should thus lead to official governmental recognition of Nepali Sign Language on a par with the various spoken languages of Nepal. The Netherlands. The sign language of the Netherlands has not been recognized officially by law. There is some public funding for sign language projects. New Zealand. New Zealand's sign language became the third official language of New Zealand in April 2006, joining Maori and English when the bill was passed in the New Zealand Parliament on April 6, 2006. Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, both British Sign Language and Irish Sign Language were recognised as official languages by the Northern Ireland Office, but they don't yet have the same status as the province's two official minority languages, Irish and Ulster Scots. Norway. Norwegian Sign Language is recognised by law in education. Portugal. As an example, many shows in public channels have one corner of the screen with a person translating what's being said into sign language. Russia. The Russian Sign Language has very limited legal recognition. In accordance with the federal law on protection of people with disabilities, the sign language is considered a language used for interpersonal communication only, which means that no state support for the language is provided. Slovak Republic. Slovak Sign Language was recognized in 1995 by law. Zakon o posungkove resi nepokujusijo sob 149 1995 SB. The Law of the Sign Language of the Deaf 149 1995. South Africa. South African Sign Language is not specifically recognized as a language of South Africa by the country's constitution. Instead, it contains the phrase sign language in the generic sense. There is a process underway in Parliament to investigate the possibility of upgrading the status of SASL to become the country's 12th official language. Spain. On June 28, 2007, Spanish and Catalan Sign Languages were recognized by the Spanish Parliament to be official languages in Spain. This recent legal development has opened a door to reinforce communication in the areas of healthcare, justice, education and MCM. So far, the autonomous communities of Catalonia, Andalusia, and Valencia had granted the use of sign languages to the deaf. In the other Spanish regions, no sign languages were so far recognized, and support in terms of sign language interpretation for deaf persons has been minimal or confined by different budgets. As pointed out, there are 3 sign languages claimed by deaf organizations: Spanish Sign Language, Catalan Sign Language and Valencian Sign Language, although some linguists consider these to be the same. Catalonia. Although a regional law guarantees the presence of Catalan Sign Language since 1994 in all areas under the Catalan government, such as education and media, until recently it was officially recognized the LSC in the Statute of Autonomy of Catalonia of 2006. Andalusia. The legal situation in Andalusia is similar to the one in Catalonia, where a regional law guarantees the presence of the Spanish Sign Language in all social scopes since 1998. Recently, a recognition of it is included in the reforming of the Statute of Autonomy. At the moment, Andalusia is the unique community where LSE is recognized with regards to the rest of Spain. In any case, in linguistic terms, the LSE used has a strong dialectal variation. Valencia. Until recently, Valencia had poor legal support for the deaf. The approved 2006 Statute of Autonomy autonomy grants to Valencian deaf the right to use Valencian Sign Language. In the statute there is no mention about which sign language is telling, but Valencian deaf entities usually refer it as Lengua de Signs en la Comunitat Valenciana. Galicia is said to be working on a bill concerning the recognition of a sign language. Sri Lanka. The recognition of Sri Lankan Sign Language was accepted by Sri Lanka on 26 September 2010. According to the report by Sri Lankan newspaper at Internet on 23 September 2010, Thailand. Thai Sign Language was acknowledged as the national language of deaf people in Thailand on 17 August 1999, in a resolution signed by the Permanent Secretary for Education on behalf of the Royal Thai government that affirmed the rights of deaf people to learn this distinct sign language as the first language at home and in schools. According to a report by Charles Riley, specific actions will be taken by the government, including hiring deaf people as teachers and instructors of sign language in deaf schools, and providing interpreters for deaf people in higher education. Turkey. There is currently no official recognition of the Turkish Sign Language, the de facto sign language in use by the Turkish deaf community. On July 1, 2005, the Turkish National Assembly enacted an updated disability law, which for the first time in Turkish law made references to sign language. Law No. 15 says that a sign language is to be used in the deaf education system, and Law No. 30 says that sign language interpreting is to be provided to deaf people. However, these laws are yet to be implemented, and it remains to be seen what form of sign language, if any, will be supported. There has been some discussion in Parliament about developing a standardized sign language. Turkey also has action plans for disability issues, such as the Employment of Disabled Persons Plan and the Prevention of Discrimination Against Disabled Persons Plan. Uganda. On October 8, 1995, Uganda's national sign language was recognized in the country's new constitution, making Uganda Sign Language one of the few constitutionally recognized sign languages in the world. A deaf signer was elected to Parliament in 1996. United States of America. Many individual states have laws recognizing American Sign Language as a foreign language. Some recognize ASL as a language of instruction in schools. A number of U.S. universities accept ASL credit to fulfill foreign language requirements. Uruguay. Although there are no official languages in Uruguay, nevertheless, Lengua de Señas Uruguaya, or LSU, was recognized as the language of deaf persons in 2001 by the law Ley No. 17.378. Reconoces a todos los efectos la lengua de señas uruguaya como la lengua natural de las personas sordas y de sus comunidades en todo el territorio de la República. 10 de julio de 2001. Parlamento del Uruguay. In the 2008 Law 18.437, LSU is considered to be one of the mother tongues of Uruguayan citizens. It is proposed that LSU would be the principal language of deaf education. Venezuela. Venezuelan Sign Language was recognized in the country's constitution on November 12, 1999. Zimbabwe. The various Zimbabwean sign languages, grouped together as sign language, are recognized in the 2013 Constitution of Zimbabwe as one of the 16 officially recognized languages of Zimbabwe.